Blog Talk Radio.
Warning, you have entered the realms of the gods, so give us your mind and your full attention.
So you say you deal with esoteric information? I never heard of such.
Well, you're in for a treat.
Blog talk, this is the blog talk. Alim, El-Bey dropping jewels every day. Blog talk, this is the blog talk. Metaphysical, we deal with the spiritual. Blog talk, this is the blog talk. Alim, El-Bey dropping jewels every day. Blog talk, this is the blog talk. Metaphysical, we deal with the spiritual. So you claim to be a god?
Damn right I'm a god. The maker, the owner, cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, god of the universe. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that.
So tune in or lose, friend. All strategies apply mathematically. The information he drop is real powerful. So get your notepad, it's more than an hour full. Watch your jaw, the crew with Watch It Talk. Indigenous to the land wherever we stand. First world order, we bringing it home in the first quarter. Invisible lines don't apply, we cross borders. Silly rabbit, knowledge for gods. No matter where you reside, Mars, Temple of Mars. So don't fret or proceed with hesitation. Just tune in to Blog Talk to get the information. Peace. Whether you suffer from pain in your back to aches in your knees, come on down and purchase you some Ancestral tea to get rid of all the parasites, toxins, and fleas. Spiritual elevation for cosmic gravitation. So put away the patience, cause there's no time to be wasted.
Ancestral tea, that's all you need. Ancestral tea,
So you better believe.
Ancestral tea,
And it works for real.
Ancestral tea,
So put away your pills.
Ancestral tea,
That's all you need.
Ancestral tea,
So you better believe.
Ancestral tea,
And it works for real.
Ancestral tea.
So put away your pills. This is a public commercial advertisement for AncestralTeas.com. All rights are reserved. Peace.
I don't need to be a dope boy, my poetry is dope enough. Trapping interstellar while my third eye open up. See through all the lies that y'all tell it with a straight face. Return of the luminous ones. Y'all better make way to find a chapter. Find a collapse on all you politicians. They politicking how to lead a world, no pot to piss in. The way I think is more deep and in the Grand Canyon. I guarantee this black man would be the man standing. My premonition matched the Olmec calendar. It's always accurate like a lightweight challenger. For all you wicked riches and the Wizard of Oz, you and that man behind the curtain, yeah, y'all fixing to fall. Only a matter of time before shit hits the fan. Here's an idiot's guide for you on how to get a man. I don't need a bunch of homies to ride or die with me. I can call on Hey Roo to fly the skies with me. Going through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the folk. Came back for ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned to the birth. We going through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the folk. Came back for ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned to his birth. When I'm riding on the city streets, never really miss a beat. To the point of no return, unless I turn another cheek. Catch me on my daily vibe, smooth as I wanna be. Just being me, never chilling with the wannabes. God in the flesh, dated bad sister lectures. Because my history is more than they can understand it. My melanated skin, star rush from the astro. I'm made of dark energy created from black holes. No thyself, the only one you can lean on. I got some scoopers that y'all can break y'all weed on. Our here's Martin Luther King and slave ships. But what about the underwater cities and spaceships? My mystical mind, we had the government covering. But if the old man temple fly away like a mothership, where African people were the real Anunnaki, wearing feathers on their heads just to prove feet tall call it in me. Through the transition, and that's all she wrote. Put on my ark and gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back for ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned since birth. We going through the transition, and that's all she wrote. Put on my ark and gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back for ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned since birth. Yo, don't look at me the same. I ain't nothing like I used to be. Upgraded daily through the lies and all the foolery. My dream became lucid. I travel back in time, collecting life data for my subconscious mind. That Father let me know that anything is possible by pulling down the universe through my crown chakra. Manipulate the energy is all an illusion. Knowing who you are kills all the confusion. Why 85% judge off my appearance? I use alchemy to create my world potential. My lyrics turn divas right back into queens. Why dope boys the same twice appearing back on the scene? Everybody gone mad, blaming media outlet. The new black Hollywood chosen straight out of projects. Homo and gender war sucking up to the master. While the whole community going up in disaster. We going through the transition, and that's all she wrote. Put on my ark and gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back for ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned since birth. We going through the transition, and that's all she wrote. Put on my ark and gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back for ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned since birth. Since birth. Since birth.
Peace. Back once again with your host, Dr. El-Bey, host of First World Order Radio. No doubt, we back once again. All right, so we're going to get into part 2 tonight in our discussion of the metaphysical and the religious confusion. But before we do that, let me bring on my co-host, Brother Fahim. Are you here?
Hey, how I tell you, Washington East?
Hey, I tell you, Washington East. How you doing tonight?
Doing well, brother. How you doing?
Doing good.
All right.
All right, so we're going to get into part 2, and hopefully y'all have some questions at the end of this. I will be dismissed if I did not mention the lost books of the Bible. All right, these books are actually mentioned in the Bible, but they have not been found, or either they have not been made mainstream and kept hidden. Right? There's approximately like 25 books mentioned in the Bible. All right? For example, you have the book of the covenant that's mentioned in Exodus, the 24th chapter, the 7th verse. And he took the book of covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, "All the Lord have said will we do, and be obedient." All right? There's also the book of war. All right, or the book of wars of the Lord Adonai. This is in Numbers 21:14. It says, "Wherefore it is said, the book of wars of the Lord, what he did in the Red Sea and in the brook of Arnon." All right. Now I have a copy of the next book, which is the book of Jasher. That's mentioned in Joshua, the 10th chapter, the 13th verse. "And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies." Is it not written in the book of Jasher? All right, so the next one is is also in 2 Samuel 1:18, and he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher. All right, we know Jasher is Yah-Osar, and there's a whole little history behind that, but I won't get into it right here. But let's go to the manna of the kingdom, or the book of statutes. This is 1 Samuel 10:25. It says, "Then Samuel told the people the manner of the kingdom, and wrote it in a book, and laid it up before the Lord. And Samuel sent all the people away, every man to his house." This is also in the book of Samuel the seer, as well as First Chronicles 29:29, and it says, "Now the act of David the king, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of Samuel the seer, and in the book of Nathan the prophet, and in the book of Gad the seer." So once again, we're hearing all these particular books mentioned in the Bible itself, but yet they're not in the Bible. So that means that Christians, Muslims, Jews, there's an incomplete story going on here. Now, the Quran attempts to bring more information to light concerning some of the missing information, and I'll go into that in a bit. But let's finish these books here. We have 2 Chronicles 9:29, where it speaks of the rest of the acts of Solomon. So the acts of Solomon, the first and last, as it was not written in the book of Nathan the prophet, and once again the prophecies of Ahijah, the Shilonite, and the visions of Edo, the seer. So once again, books are mentioned. Acts of Psalms, 1 King 11:41. The rest of the act of Solomon and all that he did, his wisdom, as they was not written in the book of the Acts of Solomon. Prophecies of Abijah is 2 Chronicles 9:29. Now that the rest of the Acts of Solomon, first and last, are they not written in the book of Nathan the prophet, and the prophecies of Ahijah, the Shilonite, and the visions of Edo, the seer. The story of the prophet of Edo. 2 Chronicles 13:22 says, "Any saying or written in the stories of the prophet Edo." 2 Corinthians 9:29 speaks once again of the visions of Edo. The seer. So Edo's genealogies is mentioned in 2 Corinthians 12:15. It says, "Now the acts of Rehoboam, first and last, are they not written in the book of Shemaiah, the prophet, and of Edo, the seer, concerning genealogies?" So you have Shemaiah, the prophet, and that's mentioned once again in 2 Corinthians 12:15. You have the acts of Rehoboam, which is 2 Corinthians 12:15. You have the book of Jehu, 2 Corinthians 20:34. And it says, "Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat." So there's the acts of Jehoshaphat. The book of Jehu, the son of Hanani, which is mentioned also in the book of Kings of Israel. So the acts of Jehoshaphat is also mentioned in, like we said, in 2 Corinthians 20:34. It is also the saying of the seers, which is mentioned in 2 Corinthians 33:19. It says, "Behold, they are written amongst the sayings of the seers." The book of Gad, the seer. 1 Corinthians 29:29 says the book of Samuel the seer, and in the book of Nathan the prophet, and in the book of Gad the seer. You have the prophecies of Enoch, Jude 1:14. Says Enoch, also the seventh from Adam, prophesies of these sayings. "Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints." So there's prophecies of Enoch. You have the epistles, which is letters to Corinth, which is missing. 1 Corinthians 5:9. "I wrote unto you the epistle not to the company with company with fornicators." We have the epistle of the Ephesians is also missing. Ephesians 3:3, "How that by revelation he made known unto me the mysteries, as I wrote afore in few words, for whereby when you read, you may understand my knowledge in the mysteries of Christ." All right. You have the epistle from Laodicea to Colossians, and that's mentioned in Colossians 4:16. And when this epistle is read among you, cause that is be read also in the church of the Laodiceans, that you likewise read the epistle from Laodicea. You have Nazarene prophecy source. This is Matthew 2:23. And he came and dwelt in the city called Nazareth, that it may be fulfilled what was spoken by the prophets. He shall be called a Nazarene. So there's a source of the prophecy of the Nazarenes, but yet the Bible speaks of it, New Testament speaks of it, but it has not yet been put forth in the public. All right, you have the Acts of Uziah, which is 2 Chronicles 26:22. Now the rest of the Acts of Uziah, first and last, did Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, write. You have the Annals of King David, Chronicles 27:24. And it says, the number was not entered into the book of the Annals of King David. You have Jude, the missing epistle, Jude 1:3. And it says, Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you the coming salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you. All right. And we also have, so these particular books are not part of, the Bible in that regard. But yet the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, both speaks of these particular books. We know that 73% of the Holy Quran comes from the Bible, but the other 27% comes from the lost books of the Bible, the forgotten books of Eden, as well as also the Apocrypha, as well as also the Zoroastrian texts. So that's why I was saying that the Quran attempts to fill in the gaps with information. Okay. Of course, you have both these books, the Bible and the Quran, and they both are filled with allegory. In particular, if everybody read God, Man, the Word Made Flesh by George W. Perry and Inez E. Carey. They break down quite a bit of information. As a matter of fact, it is said that the books, the Quran, Persian, Hebrew meaning Passover, Esther, Solomon, Egypt, Book of the Dead, Adam, Eve, Enoch, Seth, 7th Book of Moses, St. Thomas the Doubter, Nicodemus, Ptah-hotep, the oldest book in the world, or the oldest book known, the Kabbalah. Again, the researchers of such theological scholars as James Legge, the first professor of Chinese at Oxford University, Professor William Jennings, Honorable Clement Allen of the Royal Asiatic Society, besides several hundreds who might be named, embrace the leaders of thought along the lines of the original sources. And it says, all agree that hundreds, if not thousands, of ancient manuscripts, tablets, and carvings indubitably proves that all races of all people that have ever inhabited the earth have strived at best they could to leave record of the chemistry, physiology of their own body, science, Egyptology, Indo-Iranian, Chinese, Japanese, Persian, or Sanskrit, all forever stole to solve the riddle of the human body. To drive the point home, these wonderful holy books or fables parables, allegories dealing with the chemistry, physiology, astrological, and anatomical operations of the human body. All right? Like I said, read God, Man, the Word Made Flesh by George W. Perry. The problem is that an uninitiated or unlearned person may read a passage and give it their own interpretation, but their interpretation may not be correct or as in-depth as needed. Therefore, denominations, sects, cults, schisms, and isms may be formed around their interpretation. A cognitive meaning, tending to bring a memory, a mood, or image, for example, subtly or indirectly to mind, but not necessarily the denotive meaning, having a power of explicit denoting and designating or naming. As a matter of fact, Pastor Ray Hagins explains this perfectly. This is what he says. He states that all spiritual beliefs, religions, are based on life, deeds, and events of eponymous people who have been culturally literalized and incorporated into the cognitive reality of the people within that culture. Now, what's eponymy? Eponymy is a fictitious character who's a person or a group of people name or characterize themselves after for the sake of giving validity, to their belief system.
Yes.
And basically can identify to their own existence. So they're, for example, the eponymous such as Adam, Noah, Ham, Shem, Japheth, Abraham, the Hebrews, Jacob, which is Israel, Moses, Jesus. You have Muhammad, Osiris, Horus, Krishna, Buddha, Prometheus, Adon, Quetzalcoatl, Mithra, Zoroaster, and others are used by some to claim their place as God's chosen people to give themselves validity. But when you read Galatians, the 4th chapter, the 21st through the 26th verse, it states this: "Tell me your desires to be under the law. Do ye not hear the law? For it is written that Abraham had 2 sons, one by a bondmaid and the other by a free woman. But the one who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, but the one of the free woman was born by promise. Which things are an allegory? For these are the 2 covenants, the one from Mount Sinai that gendereth the bondage, which is Hagar. For this Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which is now and is bondage with her children. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all." So it broke down the allegory between the 2 wives of Abraham. Of course, we know he had 3, Keturah, but they mentioned 2 here. And what are those 2? Those 2 symbolize, Hagar symbolized Mount Sinai in Arabia, and then Jerusalem is by the free woman, Sarai, or Sarah, which is above, and which is free, and which is the mother of us all. So allegories are intentionally chosen as a means for communicating knowledge. Allegories, as we know, dramatize cosmic laws, principles, processes, relationships, and functions, and even express them in a way that's easy to understand if you understand the real interpretation. So once the inner meaning of the allegories has been revealed, they become marvels of simultaneous scientific and philosophical completeness and consciousness or conciseness. And right now, the more that is studied, the richer they become if they understand the deeper meanings, esoteric meanings. Right? So the inner dimension of the teachings embedded into each story makes them capable of revealing several layers of knowledge according to the stages of development of the listener. All right? This is based on consciousness. This is why some understand it at the level that they at, and that's fine. And then some are able to make the leap or jump, hence the term metaphysics, quantum leap, or quantum physics, into understanding of the greater mysteries. Most are on the lesser mysteries. All right? And this is why they love listening to individuals who talk about the lesser mysteries. All right? The secrets are revealed as one evolve higher. The higher we get, the more we see. It's always there. All right? So, like the Tibetans, or I should say the Tessetians or the Tenessians, which is the ancient Egyptians / Sumerians, ancient and present, did and do not believe the allegories as historical facts. All right? They believed in them in the sense that they believe in the truth beneath the stories. This is what people have to understand. So Christians seemingly, the Christian religion goes away and lose the very soul of their meaning when it's mistranslated, from the ancient Egyptian or Sumerian allegory or allegorical language into allegorical history instead of viewing it as a spiritual allegory. So the results becomes pathetic, actually, blind faith in a kind of emotional and superstitious supernaturalism, and eventually aborts the real power of the story and allegory to transform the life of every individual, because they're so busy looking at something external of themselves and thinking that is history.
Yes.
And that is literal, instead of understanding that this is a story that can be related to you here and now. All right? And how we know this, because even the Quran speaks about it in Surah 3, Ayat 6. All right? He it is who has revealed the book to thee. Some of the verses are decisive. They are the basis of the book. And others are allegorical. All right? Then those in whose heart is perversity follow the part of it which is allegorical, seeking to mislead and seeking to give it their own interpretation. All right? And none knows the interpretation except Allah and those firmly rooted in knowledge. They say, we believe in it is all from our Lord, and none do mind except men of understanding. All right? So it states here that portions of even the Holy Quran is allegorical. All right? I asked a Muslim, an Orthodox Muslim, on which parts were allegorical, and he ran out my store. Ran completely out the store, looked at me and was like, I have to go. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because once we get to the point of allegory, you tell me what portion of the allegory, since you claim that you don't want me saying that the Quran is, that portion of the Quran is allegory, but yet it states right there in Ayat 3, Surah 3, Ayat 6, that it is allegory. That portion of it is allegory. But they don't want to talk about that. Because that goes into the mystical side of our Islam. It goes into the Sufi side of our Islam. And the Sufis are supposed to be crazy to the Orthodox Muslim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge in Allah from Satan the curse. Astaghfirullah.
Then they'll say, "Kun fayakun."
Right. Be and it is. Right. At the same time, say kun fayakun, be as it is. But yet, hold up, isn't that, that's magic. That's dealing with what is called Sufism.
Yeah.
Kun fayakun. That's in the Quran. Be and it is. That's like abracadabra.
Right.
Amen. So mote it be. So it is. You know? So we keep seeing and not coming to the deeper understanding. So Ta'wil, which is the esoteric interpretation of the Holy Quran, is an interpretation of the Holy Quran which includes attributes or attributions of esoteric and mystic meaning to the text by the interpreter. So in this respect, its method is different from the conventional analysis of the Holy Quran called tafsir. Right? The esoteric interpretation do not usually contradict the conventional understanding of the exoteric interpretation, which is the surface meaning. Instead, they discuss the inner levels of the meaning of the Quran. And the Sufis do this. All right? A hadith, which is really a word of man, which states that the Holy Quran has an inner meaning, and that is inner meaning concealed a yet deeper inner meaning, and so on. It says, matter of fact, up to 7 levels of meaning. So here you are reading the Quran, and it has 7 levels of meaning. 6 different levels of what you are understanding at that particular time. 7 different modes or patterns or schemes of understanding. All right. So the esoteric interpretations are found in Sufism. In Arabic, batin refers to the inner or the esoteric meaning of the sacred text, or zahir, all right, to the apparent or exoteric meaning. Now, you go to Merriam-Webster's dictionary and look up allegory. This is what it says. It says the expression by means of symbolic fictional figures. Fictional figures. They are fictional. They do not exist. And it says, and actions of truth or generalization about human existence. Also, in instant as in a story of painting of such expression, a symbolic representation. A symbolic representation. Therefore, if Abraham, the supposed father of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, did not actually exist in human form, and neither did his sons Isaac, the supposed Hebrew, Israelite, Jewish, Christian father, and Ishmael, the supposed Arab father, for they were symbolic, fictional figures, then the so-called monotheistic religion of Judaism and Islam, well, Christianity, you know, and their books, the Holy Torah, the Holy Bible, and the Holy Quran, are merely stories and tales from older stories and tales of human evolution and awakening. All right, these stories and tales founded in the so-called monotheistic religions are derived from the ancient African morality and spiritual systems. All right, Ethiopia, which is Kush, Nubia, called originally Nahasi or Tasati, all right, and its colony Egypt, Tamari, or Kemet as becomes later known as, says the reader must understand that the following information stemming from the Holy Bible and the Holy Quran are references or referencing fictional characters. Either the stories are purely allegorical, or they are evolving from actual living people and or events and placed into story form, similar to the movies inspired by a true story. You know, when you see that in a movie inspired by a true story, meaning essentially none of it is true, but the movie makers want you to think that it's true so that you've been inclined to go see the movie or read the book. It seems nothing has changed. All right?
Right.
But in ancient times, it was not without a moral or spiritual meaning. All right, so here's the original or the various allegorical characters in the Holy Bible and the Quran. Now, when you look up the word Holy Torah, the word Torah is a corruption of Torah, meaning worship or adoration of Ra. All right? Torah also phonetically sounds like Tarak, which means the Lord of the Four Directions. And, of course, the Four Directions are, you know, south, east, west, and south, which, of course, make news, as you broke down before, as well as also the center point, which symbolizes the bringing together of those 4 points. Hence, 5 symbolizes ether, just air, fire, water, earth, ether. All right. The word Terak is also derived from the ancient Kemetic great mother goddess of maternity and childbirth, the protector of women and children. Her name is Tawaret. All right, Tawaret. All right, means the great one. She's the lady of magical protection who guides souls into the afterlife. Right, so in Tamari or Kemet, Egypt, as it's called, astrology, astronomy, cosmology, Tawaret is depicted on the ceiling painting of the constellations in the temple of Seti I and the temple of Dendera, which is the temple of Het-Heru. All right, she was shown to represent the never setting pole star of Usha Minor and Draco North Star of Lupin. All right, or Theban, right, in the Draconian constellation. Now, the 7 stars lying down her back are the stars of the Little Dipper. All right, so that whole area shows astrological correlation to the Holy Quran, as is also the word that's what Tarak means, Holy Torah, Pentateuch, which means 5, Tanakh. All right, so you have the tribes of Israel, or Asare, right? These are the children of Israel, the son, or Asare, formerly known as Jacob, Yaakov, the supplanter, which that's what it means in Hebrew. You have Reuben, which is behold a son, who symbolizes actually Shu, or Menet, which is Aquarius, the water bearer, because it says unstable as water. All right, Reuben is unstable as water. Well, that symbolizes Aquarius, the water bearer. He symbolizes discerned faith. All right, Jasper, all colors, powerful healer, main impact on the physical body. It works directly with the animal soul to heighten and intensify primal awareness. It is both a divinational and a cause and Jasper is also used for divination, as well as also karmic stone. This stone also just symbolizes Reuben, but it also strengthens the liver, the gallbladder, the bladder itself. It works with the chakras and attitude according to the colors of the stone. The red jasper is often worn for protection. Now, each son or child of Israel, which means to ascend to God, symbolizes, once again, an ancient Kemetic deity, as well as also a stone of power. All right, which that is, all 12 stones is worn in the breastplate by the priest of Levi. All right, this is what it said. Now, Simeon and Levi. Now, Simeon means hearing, Levi means joining. All right, this is symbolic to Heru and Set, the Geminis, the twins originally, who was actually male and female, which was actually also in Set, embracing in sexual intercourse. But now it was transformed into the brethren. So Simeon symbolizes word, receptivity. Levi symbolizes love, is the joining force of the divine mind. All right, sapphire align. Now, the symbol is sapphire, aligns the body, the mind and soul, expands cosmic awareness, aids connection with the higher self. It is excellent for meditation and stimulates psychic abilities, clarity, and inspiration by activating the pituitary gland. Therefore, it aids the entire glandular system. Now, that's for Simeon. Now, for Levi, you have Cal and Sidoni, all right, which is excellent for protection against harmful spirits, good health, and safe travel, right? The next you have Judah, which means praise be to Yah, which is actually Atum. The feminine aspect is Sekhmet, the lion, the Leo. Right? And how we know? Because it says Judah is a lion weeped. All right? This is all in the Old Testament. It says the pineal gland is the home of the universal consciousness. It is there that the man holds converse in the intelligence of divine mind. Emerald is the stone which aids a line of the subtle bodies. It is a powerful physical, emotional, mental healing stone. It strengthens the heart, defense, immune system, and nervous system, and enhances dreams, meditation, and deeper spiritual insight. All right. Next, you have Zebulon, which means dwelling. Well, that's Capra Patar. All right, which is the beetle for Cancer, the crab. All right, and it says that Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea. All right, that is how you know that this is symbolic. And he symbolized the abdominal brain, or the intelligence of the stomach that directs the digestion and presides over the chemicals of the human body. All right, you have Zodonics or Zoonics. Zodonics banish grief and woes, and as well as to bring more control of the emotions to aid the wearer to become happier. Right? Hence, it changed a person who is in a crabby mood for a happy mood. Okay, hence Zebulon symbolizes Cancer, the crabby. All right, now you have Issachar, which means brings reward. This is all in Hebrew, but it's symbolic to Het Heru, which is actually Taurus, the bull. All right, Het Heru would be the golden calf mentioned in the Old Testament. And it says that Issachar is as strong as. So he symbolizes the substance of the earth, or the strength to master the physical plane. Zordis is the stone, which is powerful. All right, protective stone worn to neutralize negative attacks. You have Dan, which means judge, which is Sarak, which is scorpion. All right, for the scorpion. Scorpio for the scorpion. And it says Dan shall be a serpent in the way. So he symbolizes the faculty of judgment, or the order in man. Chrysolite is an excellent tool for psychic development. This is the stone for Dan, as well as cleanses and conditions the emotional body. Chakras, root, heart, third eye, crown chakra. All right. Then you have Gad, which in Hebrew means good fortune. You have Amen, which is actually Aries, the ram, the lamb. All right, it says that Gad is a troop that shall overcome him. So in the Holy Bible, this is in Deuteronomy 33, 20 and 21, the crown of the head. As he came to the head of the people, he symbolized the faculty of power. Beryl is the stone which increases psychic awareness, enhances visions, prophetic visions, quickens the mind, heightens the human potential to expand the mind, to grasp the laws of nature. It activates the first or the third eye and the crown chakra. All right, you have Asher, which is the pillar of happiness in Hebrew, which symbolizes Mayat, which is Libra, the scales. And it says Asher, and he shall yield royal dainty. So he symbolizes the faculty of love. The stone is topaz, which enhances psychic perception, communication with the higher self, and is used to increase vitality, strengthen the defense or immune system, and bring those who wear it good health. All right. This is it activates the heart, the throat, and third eye chakra. Then you have Nefertiti, which means spiritually intertwining of Yah, which is actually Mendez, the Capricorn, the goat. And it says Nefertiti is a hind let loose, right? He symbolizes the faculty of elimination, all right? So Chrysophas brings out, which is the stone, brings out inner talents, erase depression and sexual imbalance, activates the root chakra and solar plexus. You have Joseph, which means Yah shall increase, which is Seb or Geb, which is Sagittarius the archer. And it says Joseph the archer, his bow. All right, so he symbolizes the faculty of imagination. Jacinth or Jacineth, all right, is the stone. Now you have Benjamin, which means the son of the right hand, which is also symbolic to Sabak, Pisces, the fishes, the two fish. And it says Benjamin raved as a wolf. He symbolizes the faculty of active faith, and Amethyst, which is very well known for his ability for psychic enhancement and spiritual awareness. And then, of course, you have, according to Genesis 34, 1 through 3, you have Dinah. All right, the word Dinah means judged. The damsel, she's the damsel. She's the only female out of the 12 sons. She's the 13th child. And she is the feminine qualities of the judgment, faculty, and man called intuition. All right. Now, this is the way that when you read certain books, like, for example, the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary by Charles Fillmore, or the 12 Powers of Man by Charles Fillmore and Cora Fillmore, they go into depth about the spiritual or esoteric meaning behind these particular names in Hebrew and what they mean. Just like me basically went over this information just now. So those two books I recommend highly to get. All right? Now,
Charles Fillmore.
Right, Charles Fillmore and his wife, Cora Fillmore. So the book is called The Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, and the other book by Charles Fillmore is called The 12 Powers of Man. Okay, The 12 Powers of Man. Brother C. Freeman L. talked about that book all the time.
What?
Okay, he talked about that book all the time. All right, very powerful book. When you read it, fills in a lot of the gaps and takes a person into the esoteric side of information of the Bible as compared to just the exoteric, thinking that it's literal and historical. All right. Even when you look at the word Holy Bible, the word holy is derived from the Greek word helios. All right, or herios, which you get the word heroes or heru, and the Latin word is halo or haru. All right, which both mean sun, illuminating light. All right, the letters R and L are interchangeable. Both words are derived from the Metru Neter, or the ancient Temerian word, all right, of Heru, Haru, which is nothing more than another form of Ra, or his father, Asur, Asu, or Asura. All right. Now, the word Bible is derived from the Latin word biblios, or papyrus.
Surah. Okay.
Right. Now, that's
Quran.
Right. Now, the earlier Greek word papyrus stems from the Metru Neter word papyra, which English transliteration is paper. Hence, the Holy Bible is a plagiarized version of the Ra Papyrus. The Ra Papyrus is actually the book of knowing the evolution of Ra and the overthrowing of Apep. That's the name of the book. The Book of Knowing the Evolution of Ra and the Overthrowing of Apep. The evolution of Ra is talking about the higher self. The overthrowing of Apep is the lower self. And it's called Ra Papyrus. And they can get this information from the gods of Egypt, or the Egyptians, the gods of the Egyptians, by E.A. Wallace Budge. Right? The Book of Knowing the Evolution of Ra and the Overthrowing of Apep comes from the Book of the Dead, misnomed by E.A. Wallace Budge, but we know it as the coming forth of light and darkness. or what's called coming forth by day and night, which light is Heru, night is set. Sunset. When the sun sets, it turns dark. All right, so we also know that there's a metaphysical meaning behind. We did the metaphysical meaning behind the Old Testament deities, or hence the sons of Israel. But now we'll do the New Testament. All right, you got Matthew 10:2-4, Mark 3:14-19 of the 12 disciples of Jesus. Okay. Now, if you read, it says, "Now the names of the 12 12 apostles are thus." All right, and it says Simon, who was called Peter, Andrew, his brother, James the son of Zebedee, John, his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the Publican, and it says James the son of Alphaeus, and Lebanius, whose surname was Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. He was the 12 disciples, right? Now, when you break down each one, you have Simon, which is called Peter Bar Jonah, and that's actually Capsidness, Seaman, which is actually a title of Tahudi, Ptah. All right? And you have Andrew Bar Jonah, which is happy, the sign of Pisces, the fish. You know? And it says they were the sons of Jonah, as in Jonah and the great well, which is mentioned within Jonah 1-17. You know, and the allegory is that this great well, which is a sperm well, all right, and the name Simeon is the same name as Simon, right? Simon, or Simon, same name as Simon, simply taking out the vowel is SMN. Heru in his early form was Sebek, the crocodile god, called also the fish. All right, he's also called Sem, S-E-M, priest, which is Sem is derived from semen. All right, of the ancient Kemet priesthood, was anointed by the crocodile fat of Sebek, and this oil was used in the baptismal initiations of those who become the Christ, or Mashiach, the Messiah. All right, and so besides Peter is one of the moderate slangs. Peter is also a moderate slang for the penis. So all this has sexual interpretation, right, involved in this. Semen was also the title of Tahudi. Semen held the child Heru in his arms as a young solar god. Jesus means ichthys, or fish. So plainly, Jesus is a psychophysical germ or spermatozoa in the semen. Now, people don't understand this. Well, go and get the book Esoteric Masonry, or the Storehouse Unlocked by Philotas. Esoteric Masonry, or the Storehouse Unlocked by Philotas. All right? Healthy sperm is in the form from positive thoughts. That's how sperm is formed, from positive thoughts. Light, prana, quality of breath. Astrological, directly behind the fish. If you go and look at astrological, and you go and look at Pisces in the sky, right behind the fish of Pisces in the sky is Cetus, which is the great well. So when the sun comes through the astrological outline of Pisces, It actually goes in the mouth of Sittis, which is the great well, and the son gets swallowed up for 3 days and 3 nights. Oh shit! This is the same story that we have in the Old Testament based on Jonah. He got swallowed up by the well by 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah, 1st chapter, the 17th verse. Now the Lord has prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. And it was said that the great fish was actually a whale. The name Simon is the... Come on. Let's stop. Let's stop with the foolishness, y'all. So as above, so below. The same great well that's in the sky above is in your loins below. That's why it's called Sea-Man. Sea-Man, man who comes from the sea, the waters of life. When the woman's water breaks, the baby comes forth to the land. Oh, for 9 months, dwelling in the waters of life.
9 months.
9 months.
On the gestational woman.
Going into the 10th month. Yep, 9 months. Going into the 10th month.
On the 10th month. Oh.
Right, which would be 40 weeks, Brother L. For 40 days and 40 nights. Noah, it rained and he was on his boat with all the animals. Nigga, the boat was the woman's stomach. That's the boat, is the woman's stomach, in which that you was in for nearly 40 weeks, which they call 40 days and 40 nights. It rained. Water came down pouring. That is nothing more than you inside of your mother's womb for nearly 10 months, 40 weeks, as you was formed in triple stage darkness, or what is referred to as embryonic fluid. Let's stop with the bullshit. This is what these meanings of these stories actually symbolize. But you keep listening to clowns tell you that it's historical and literal. So for those who want to listen to it, be my guest. But don't bring that shit here. Because Alim will crush that shit. You ain't changing a goddamn thing in my mind about these stories. Okay? Alim been studying for 25 goddamn years. All right, so that's all I can tell you. It's my information from over 25 years. We're not here in order to get you to think the way that we think. We ain't starting no goddamn sex, cult, schism, denomination. We're not starting none of that shit. We want you to achieve the highest of heights, connection with your higher self, so that you are guide of your life on earth as it is in heaven. Ha! Okay? Now, if we go to Mark 1:16, it says, He, Jesus, saw Simon and Peter, his brother, casting a net into the sea, and they was fishers. Peter symbolized faith, like we said. Now, according to Matthew 16:13 through 18, it says, Whom do men say that I am, that the Son of Man am? And they said, some of you say that Jesus, John the Baptist. Some say Elijah. Others say Jeremiah. Some one of the prophets of old. Huh. Jesus asked Peter, Simon, well, who thou art? Who you say that I am, Peter? He said, thou art the Christ, Son of the living God, nigga. But the question that was asked, it says, but whom shall ye say that I am? Now, the I am is the same as Ea Asher in the Old Testament that God told Moses. Moses asked, well, whom shall I say God, whom shall I say that is sent to me? And God replied from the burning bush, I am that which that I am. Now mosey on, little nigga, and do my will. Okay? Now, when we look at this story, Jesus then answered and said, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this unto you, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So the word faith is derived from the ancient Kemetic or Temerian word, which is the netter's title for Ptah. Ptah is the opener. Now that's no coincidence because Ptah has the exact sound phonetic, or the exact same phonetic sound as Peter. Ptah, Peter. Also in Temeri or Kemet lore, Petar or Petra was the revealer to Heru. Now people can get this from Jeremiah lectures by Jeremiah. All right, is also metaphysically, so Simon Peter, other name was Cyphus, meaning stone, as in philosopher's stone. So when a Kundalini comes up the spine through the 7 caves or caverns and go into the last cave, which is called the cave of Brahma, which is the 3rd ventricle, it illuminates that last organ, or as we would say, endocrine gland. And that raising Kundalini is known as Auset, and as it hits the pineal gland, which symbolizes Ausar, that divine marriage in heaven produces Heru, which is called Christ consciousness. You now become the Messiah, and DMT is produced, Pinoline is produced, and that golden disc around your head is produced. Hence, you become in the image and after the likeness of God. The God externally, which is the sun up in the sky, which is called Atan, as well as also symbolically the God within. All right. It's not just the sun up in the sky, but also the sun behind the sun, which would be Sirius A, and then even symbolic to the central sun, Alcyon, and these particular glands in your brain are illuminated. Your hypothalamus, your thalamus, your pituitary, and your pineal gland. All right, symbolic to these particular, once again, our sun, Sirius A, Sirius B, and Alcyon. All right, symbolically, they become illuminated. Now, we can get this from the 4 Gospels esoterically interpreted by John P. Scott, where John P. Scott states that Christ, which symbolizes the soul, questions the disciples, which is symbolic to the 12 pair of cranial nerves, concerning his identity to test their spiritual sight and perception. They all realized that he was the great soul, but Peter possessed the clairvoyant vision, which enabled him to recognize the great indwelling Christ spirit, hence Christ consciousness, or Christ consciousness. All right, so this requires spiritual insight and gaining through regeneration. All right, now Peter or Petro, which means rock. Peter had built the white stone mentioned in Revelations, the 2nd chapter, the 17th verse, and it says, within his being, which is also the philosopher's stone, right, is produced by cementing, not calcifying. There is a difference. The 144,000 sand-like magnetic particles of the pineal gland into a hard rock-like condition. Now, this is partially from the 4 Gospels esoterically interpreted. All right. Now, this pineal gland into a hard rock-like condition. Now, what type of rock? Well, Revelations 4:6 tells you, and before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal, hence like a diamond. This is accomplished through the raising of the life force and by directing the life force properly when raised. This is the Philosopher's Stone or Diamond Soul. All right? Read the private lessons interpreted the intermeaning of Masonry and the Bible, including the 7 churches by Philotas. See, I'm giving you the books where all this esoteric information comes from so that y'all can go and research this yourself and make the quantum leap into understanding, overstanding, and understanding. And not just keep regurgitating dogma and doctrines from the lesser mysteries, where people are telling you, oh, this is literal, oh, this is historical.
Mm-hmm.
That's irrelevant. Because if the stories, if you can't use the stories in which that is dated 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 years ago, what's the point of reading the damn stories just to get a good read? You have to know what is taking place in this day and time, and it's being interpreted for you in this day and time. So Philotas states that doctors examine the pineal glands of people and find them filled with sand. So doctors have actually examined the pineal gland of people and found them filled with sand, or what is called magnetic sand-like particles, because it's never been crystallized. The Kundalini never was risen in order to transform it from a carbon state, which is carbon 12, into carbon 7. So it's never been changed from carbon 666 to carbon 616. All right? So, this is what is going on. Now, if you go to John 1:42, it says, "Thou art Simon, the son of Jonah. Thou shalt be called Cephas," which is to interpret a stone. Peter symbolizes the pineal gland that sits on the center of the brain. Andrew means strong man, and he's symbolic to the genitals, which sometimes produce a fishy odor. All right. Therefore, we have the pineal gland in the brain, which is Peter, and we have the pineal gland, head of the penis, which is Andrew. Once again, or it can be the clitoris for the woman. Once again, similar phonetic sounding words. Both penile and penile are derived from the Latin word pine, which is pinus for tree or needle. All right? And al in Hebrew means God, thus meaning the tree of God. Now, remember, there was 2 trees. You had the tree of good and evil, which symbolizes the tree of life, in which that you make human beings through, which is the phallus, and the sperm, semen, as we know, produces the male and female seed. All right? Now, not only do this semen produces the male or female seed, it also can raise Kundalini energy up. All right? If you're able to save your juices, you are actually able to do breathing exercises. One in particular is called the Cobra Breath technique, and raise that energy up from Andrew to Peter. And this particular Peter is not just the Peter that's down there, but the Peter that's up here, which is talking about the pineal gland, as the pineal gland also looks like the head of the penis. No coincidence. All right? So, we're trying to get y'all to understand some things here. Right? The pineal gland looks like or similar to the pineal gland. Both are triangular shape. Both excretes the substance of life, melanin, and melanin in the form of semen called sperm, as well as this sperm actually, if you read the Quran, it tells you that it goes up through the spine in order to go to the third ventricle to receive the spark of life from God, which is the divine soul dwelling inside of the pineal gland, to travel back down to the scrotum sac to be gushed forth. So actually, everyone already know who's the Holy One is. All right? In other words, the divine Christ, that one particular sperm out of that 777,777,777 cells, all 777,777,776 cells already know who the one is. They already know who the one is. And their job is to play like football, to get the one to the designated area. All right? Now, John B. Zebedee, or Bar Zebedee, is through a mufti. And Zebedee is a Hebrew word that's derived from the ancient Kemetic word, which is sebek, the crocodile, all right, Mashiach, whose fat and oil is used to anoint the head of the mes or mesa, which is Mashiach in Hebrew. John Bar Zebedee is Amset, and James the Lesser and Jesus' brother, the brother of thunder, is his name. Matter of fact, you go to Mark 3:17, it says James the son of Zebedee and John the brother of James, and his surname are Boanerges, which is the sons of thunder, or symbolic to the signs of Gemini. Gemini is an air sign, and thunder produces booming sound in the air. Gemini represents the lungs of the human body also. All right, so John, which is Yan or Yanen, means Yah, I am, gracious, and symbolic to the spiritual faculties of divine love, is a seed of activity in the inner heart. James is the English transliteration of the Hebrew word Yaakov, or Jacob, which means supplanter. James represents the faculty of judgment in individual consciousness, is the seat of activity in the solar plexus. All right, astrologically, James also symbolizes the constellation of Cancer. All right, now you have Philip, which means lover of horses in Greek. He represents the faculty of us that's through love we master the stubborn yet vital forces of the human. He symbolizes the throat chakra, for it controls all the vibratory energy of the body. Astrologically, Peter also symbolizes the constellation Taurus. Bartholomew means the son of the plow. His surname is Nathaniel, which is in Hebrew means the gift of grace from God. Thereby cultivating a one spirit through the faculty of the imagination can lead one to receive God's grace. Astrologically, symbolizes the constellation Scorpio. Thomas means twin. His surname is Dynamo, which is in Greek. He symbolizes the head of reasoning and intelligent or intellectual perception. The name Thomas is derived from the Hebrew word Tammuz, meaning summer solstice, which begins in the new moon of every July according to the Hebrew calendar. He is a Syrian sun god and the same as the Babylonian sun god or Mesopotamian. It is also corresponds to the Greek Adonis, which is in Hebrew is Adonai. The word even dates further back to the ancient Kemetic word for the sun disk of Aton. So Thomas is also another form of Baal or Bil, right? Tho is short for the Greek word Thoth, derived from the ancient Kemetic word Tahudi, meaning thought. Mes is short for Messiah or Messiah, which is derived from the ancient Kemetic word Mes or Mesha, which means to be anointed. So Tom is short for Thomas, which is derived from Tom or Tum or Team, Himu, all right, which is Atum, which is the setting sun, which is another name of Atum, all right. So Dinamuth is Titi, was a digit Mes or Tahuti Mes, all right. So astrologically, Thomas also symbolizes the constellation Leo, right? Matthew means gift of Yahweh or Yahweh, all right? His other name is Levi, which means joined. He is the son of Alphaeus, the publican. Astrologically, Matthew also symbolizes the constellation Aquarius. All right, then you had another James, who was one of the 12 disciples. James is derived from the Hebrew word Yaqub, which means the planter once again. He's the son of Alphaeus. He's also known as James the Less, and is the brother of Jesus. So astrologically, James also symbolizes the constellation Virgo. You have Lebbeus, meaning a man of heart. His subname was Thaddeus, and his other name was Judy, or Judah, which means praise. Astrologically, he symbolized the constellation Libra. Then you have Simon the Canaanite, means a hearing. Astrologically, Simon was symbolized the constellation Aries. And you have Judah, meaning praise, and Aquarius, meaning man of Kirioth, which also betrayed him. Judah's throne is in the genitive center, called the reproductive system. Sex organs or genitals is the home of the genitals or Gentiles. In other words, those that dwell in the lower self or lower nature, the devil. Astrologically, Judah also symbolizes the constellation Capricorn, hence, which is ruled by Saturn. All right, or I should say, which Capricorn rules Saturn, hence set on. All right, and then of course Jesus himself, who makes the 13th, which is Greek, which means he who saves, and Christ is Greek, which means anointed one. Astrologically, Jesus also symbolized the sun disk as it revolved through the 12 zodiac signs, beginning with the sign in Aries, the ram, also symbolized by Amen. All right, so we have as above, so below, as within, so without. All right, around the pineal gland, which symbolizes the 13th, or the Christ element, is the 12 pair of cranial nerves. All right, you have the optic nerve, you have the oculomotor nerve, you have the trigeminal nerve, the trigeminal nerve, the abyssine nerve, the facial nerve, the vestibular locular nerve, the glossoesophageal nerve, and the vagus nerve. All right, as well as also the hypoglossal nerve and accessory nerve. All right, so these are the 12 pair of cranial nerves. Now, how we was able to get this is because metaphysically, if you go and read the 12 sons of Israel or the 12 disciples of Jesus, equaling the 24 elders, so 12 from the Old Testament, 12 from the New Testament, or if you go to Rudolf Steiner's, founder of the Anthroposophical Society, he states that the zodiacal nature in the microcosmology reflects under the dome of the human being's skull. The highest of these three are the cranial nerves, of which there are indeed 12 pair, and the cranial nerve sits around the pineal gland and the master gland in the center of the brain. This is metaphysically decoded when you go to Revelations 4:4, and it says, round the throne was 4 and 20 seats, and upon the seats I saw 4 and 20 elders sitting, clothed in white raiments, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. The 4 and 20 elders fell down before him that sat on the throne, worshiping him forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne. Now, if you go to Jewel in the Lotus by my Grand Master Sunyata Saraswati, alayhi salam upon him, you would find that he states this in the Jewel in the Lotus book, that the 12 pair of cranial nerves sits around the pineal gland in a circle. Hence, just like Jesus and his 12 disciples at the Last Supper. Just like the sun in the sky going through the 12 zodiac signs every 25,000 years, a renewal of history, as Elijah Muhammad spoke about. As well as also King Arthur and his 12 knights at the round table. These are the allegories from all these stories that you heard. Okay, now, even the word Holy Quran, as we just talked about, Honorable Elijah Muhammad called the 25-year renewal of history a Holy Quran. Why? Well, the word holy, like we said, means sun, derived from the Greek word helios, meaning sun. Also, the most ancient source derived from the ancient Kemetic, or Temerian, which is Heru, which means sun, light, day, or time. And Quran in Arabic means recite, or recycle, or cycle. Thus, the word Holy Quran means sun cycle. Furthermore, Heru is also known as Kul, right? Kul, and is the ancient Temerian word for illumination, intelligence, wisdom, and the ancient spirits are thus called Aku, or the intelligence, shining, illuminating ones. Right? So you find that Ku, which is intelligence, wisdom, is the wisdom of Ra. This is the reason Muslims refer to Quran as the book of wisdom. Yahudi is the record keeper, hence the father of time. All right? He becomes in a late Roman deity Chronos, which means timekeeper. The Vatican wanted to make a new religion that would take over Jerusalem and challenge the so-called Jewish faction. And thus the Roman deity Chronos became the name of the holy book, the Holy Quran, or the Sun Chronicles, or the Sun Chronology. All right, also called Qur'an. Right? The wisdom of Ra was collected from the same book as the Bible, Ra, Paper Ra, or the Book of Knowing, the evolution of Ra and the overthrow of Apep. All right. So, in other words, the Holy Quran was plagiarized from the Ra papyrus too. This is what we were talking about. 73% of the Quran is derived from the Old and New Testament. 27% is derived from the Zoroastrian text of the Zen Avesta, the lost books of the Bible, and the forgotten books of Eden, and the Apocrypha. All right? There's a collection of 17th century and 18th century English translation of some Old Testament pseudo-pigraphia and a New Testament Apocrypha, which was assembled in the 1820s and then republished with the current title in 1926. All right? So when you go to the Supreme Wisdom lessons or the Lost Found Muslim lessons of the 120, you have 5, the Lost Found Muslim lessons, number 2, 1 through 40, the first term examination assessment of Mr. Elijah Muhammad. It says, who made the Holy Quran and Bible and how long ago? Will you tell us who does Islam renew her history every 25,000 years? Answer. The Holy Quran or Bible is made by the original people, who is Allah, the supreme being or black man of Asia. The Quran was inspired in the year 25,000. The Nation of Islam is all wise and does everything right in his act. The planet Earth, which is the home of Islam, is approximately 25,000 miles in circumference. So the wise man of the East, black man, making history and or Quran to equal his home circumference. A year to every mile, and thus every time his history lasts 25,000 years, he renews it for another 25,000 years. This is what it says. Brother L, I mean, I'm sure you remember that. Right?
Yes.
As you was a member of the Nation of Islam. What's your thoughts on it?
That you're talking about after every age, like, for example, Pisces, Aquarius, Aries, and so on, and that's what he's really talking about.
Right.
It's starting a new age. That's dealing with every 25,000 years. The sun also, the earth also moves closer and closer toward the sun.
Right.
This is what's going on.
Exactly. And every 25 years correlate to every 25,928 years, to be right in exact, of a completion of a great year, which is the sun traveling through the 12 zodiac signs. So hence, yes, there's a renewal of history because every time the sun completes a rotation or a great year through the 12 zodiac signs, it starts anew. That's why in the Quran, we keep telling people, hold up, you have El-Qamar, which means the moon. You have Surah Al-Sham, which means the sun. You have Surah Al-Masaraf, which means the 12 zodiac signs. You have the Surah Al-Najm, which means the star, which is talking about Sirius. So what we talking about, that it's not an astrological book, that the sun isn't being chronicalized. Chronos, time, Kura. That's how we gain wisdom. It's through time. So, if we go to the following, is from a table of content of the original source of the Quran. Even the Holy Bible, the Sun Papers, writes of books that are no longer part of the biblical collection, as we showed. They were forbidden or missing books. Now the Quran writes of missing books also. So if you go to the Holy Quran, 25th Surah, the 5th ayat, and it says, Tales of the Ancients, which has caused to be written, and they are dictated before him morning and evening. You go to the Holy Quran, Surah, the poets, Surah 26, ayat 196. All right, it says, Wa'inahu, Lafi, Zobori, Alwa, Lina, which means without doubt, it is announced in the mystic books of former peoples. What is these mystic books that the Quran talks about? What is the tales of the ancients that was written that the Quran is talking about? Hell, what the hell do the word mystic mean? Well, you go to Webster's Random House Dictionary. It defines mystic. It says, mysteries transcending ordinary human knowledge. God damn. As by direct communication with the divine, or immediate intuition in a state of spiritual ecstasy, involving a characteristic by esoteric, otherworldly, or symbolic practices or content, as concerned or certain religious ceremonies and art, spiritually significant, ethereal, of the nature of pertaining to mysteries known only to the initiate. So what are these mystic books of the former people that the Quran speaks of? Because remember, portions of it is allegorical, mystical. So of the nature of pertaining to mysteries known only to the initiate, mystic rites of occult character, of the occult character, power, and significance, as by direct communication with the divine, or immediate intuition in a state of spiritual ecstasy, a person initiated into religious mysteries. So, what are the mystic books of the former people that the Quran is referring to, and what are their origins? Well, the Holy Quran goes further. In Surah 43, the fourth ayat, it says, the mother of the books, Al-Ummah Al-Kitab, the foundation of revelation, the preserved tablets, the Lahu Mahfuz is the core or essence of revelation. The mother of the book is in Allah's own presence. In the occult, the universal library, it is called what? The Akashic Records. All right? Now, the following is from the table of contents. Also, speaking about more mystic things. All right? And these mystic things was spoken of within the Holy Quran. They speak of 4 major books that the Quran actually comes from. It says the Torah, the Zabur, which is the Psalms, the Injil, which is the Gospels of Revelation, and the Quran. It says the Torah, which is the word Torah or the Tanakh or the Pentateuch, was sent to Moses or Musa. The Sabor, Psalms, was sent to Dawood, which is David. The Injil, Revelation, was sent to Isa, Jesus, and the Quran was sent to Muhammad. Now we know that this is all allegorical, but it still speaks of the books that the Quran utilized. So it utilized the ancient tales. It utilized Al-Ummah, Al-Kitab, the mother of the books. It used the Psalms. It used the Torah. It used the Injil, which is the Gospels. All right? Now, people have to look at this. All right? This is the origin of these things here. All right? Now, people don't want to believe me? Just go and get Amir Fatir's from his book, Why Does Muhammad or Any Muslim Murder the Devil? All right? This is what he writes. Listen to this. All right? The Akashic Records. The yogis of India believe that there is a record or a book that records every action, thought, and emotion in a subtle substance called Akasha, ether. This record contains all information of the past as well as the future. This book is called the Akashic Records. In the Quran, this book is called the Book of Allah, the mother of the books, the clear books, and the books that leaves out nothing, small or great. The Akashic Records is coded under the mystic letters Alif, Lam, Mim. Now, for those who don't know what Alif, Lam, Mim equates to, that's DNA, the oxyribonucleic acid, the book of life, your DNA, nigga.
Go ahead.
All right.
You said the mother, brother. You said the mother of all the books, brother.
Right, the mother of all the books.
Brother, you didn't say the father, brother. You didn't say the father, brother.
Right, the book of life. In the Quran. Right, so Alif, Lam, Mim. This is the book. It says never doubt in it, which means never doubt in yourself. Metaphysically, the area of your personal Akashic records is the location of the medulla oblongata, which is the back of the head. It's the storage place of all your past lives in the house of photographic memory. Meditation permits the initiate to access portions of the Akashic records and thereby have the true knowledge of the past and the future. One who can remember many lives is called a sheikh or sheik, literally old man. He is old in that his consciousness goes back to olden times. He's an old soul. People who can remember all their lives is called Al-Khalidun, the immortal ones. They are immortal because their consciousness does not end when their bodies return to dust. However, indigenous people speak of the incorruptible body, or becoming a rainbow body, or the golden dragon body, as is also referred to as, or one that is free from suffering in the bonds of ego, or one that links earth and heaven. The process of creating that body of light is an ancient practice and has been used for thousands of years on this planet. Grandmaster Sanyata taught that technique. Some ideas are still found in the tradition, such as the traditional African shamanism of spirituality, the ancient Egyptians, which is the Tamarians, the Hindu-Kushitic Tantra yoga, the Native American spiritual traditions, the Hebrew Kabbalistic tradition, the pre-Christian nature religion, Buddhism, Taoism, Islamic Sufism, alchemy, both Eastern and Western, the Hermetic and Gnostic secret traditions, Rosicrucians, Freemasonic traditions. In China, the secret of enlightenment was called the secret of immortality. Right? There is actually the 5 different types of immortals. You have the ghost immortal, right? You have the human immortal, you have the earthly immortal, you have the celestial immortal, and the golden immortal, which represents the different levels of self-cultivation. All right? So, when we talk about these sciences, you know, we taking it to a whole different level. All right? The Quran also speaks about that we have made the Salat a book of time. Made the Salat a book of time. Hold on, Salat a book of time. Hold on, now Salat is supposed to be
prayer,
or doing your prayers.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the Salat as a book of time. Well, that refers to the Injil or the book of Revelation, which is the activation of the 7 chakras. As the 7 positions of Salat opens and activates the 7 chakras, which is your book of life. No go. The scriptures give that Jesus, or rather detailing the spirit, the science of breath. Metaphysically, Salat as a book of time, too, also refers to time to activate the solar forces in the spine. So according to the elements that's operate, for example, we read in Surah Al-Imran, which is chapter 3 and ayat 48, says, and Allah will teach him the book and wisdom, the law and the gospel. This book, right, Injil, entire subject is on raising the Kundalini, or Umbelini, as it is called within South Africa. Right? The Arabic word Salat means burning fire. But the so-called Muslims told us that Salat means worship. No, Salat means burning fire. This corresponds to the meaning of Kundalini as the serpentine fire. The Hebrew word Salat is comprised of the word Sa and Lat, from Al-Lat, the wife of Allah, in the primitive Arabic theology. So as Kundalini is regarded as a feminine expression of the divine force. Hence, Salat actually is the mother Rayat, which is the wife of Ra in the Egyptian theology. All out in the feminine force, the Sheikh, or Shakti, that follows the active energy of Kundalini and is in match as a consciousness now coming down to us as a solar-based prayer system called Salat. Alat corresponds to Venus also, which is the planet of love, which is also Heru, which is another form of Kundalini at the root of base chakra. It is the charge of storing the sexual Ra or Kundalini force known as the libido by Sigmund Freud. All right, now the 5 elements are embedded secretly in the 5 solar salats, Kundalini prayers that Muslims are to make every day: Fajr, Dua, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. All right, or Islamic correlations to the 4 sons of Heru, the Avatar. All right, I won't go so far in that, but when you go and study Fajr, which is dawn according to the fire energy rising, Dua, noon according to wood energy expanding, Asr, afternoon according with metal energy solidifying, and also Asr is short for Osiris. All right, is a prayer before the night prayer. Then you have Maghrib, sunset, according accords with water, energy sinking. Isha, night, accords with earth, stable energy. Then you also have Nafi and Ishtakar, Ra, which those two correlate actually to 7 prayers. Even though there's only 3 Salat prayers actually authorized in the Quran. The prayers mentioned by name are Salat al-Fajr, dawn prayer, 24 through 58, or Salat al-Isha, night prayer, and Salat al-Wasta, the middle prayer. All right. Al-Isha prayer, night prayer, is in the same as Surah 24, ayat 58. Then al-Salat al-Wasta, which is the morning, the middle prayer, is Surah 2, 238 ayat. However, 99% of all the Muslims in the world claim that God created or decreed 5 daily prayers. Well, where they got that from? Well, they got it from the story in which that is told in the Hadiths by Bukhari, a Russian so-called convert Jew into Islam, that the story is of Prophet Muhammad on the night of Maghrib, the night of Mirage, the night of power. He's taken up by a beast, all right, into the 7 heavens, and on each heaven he meets one of the angels or prophets, in which that on the 7th one he is taken there by Michael, and Michael sits him in front of Allah, and Allah asks Muhammad, is it feasible for men to pray 100 times? Muhammad says, oh, you might want to bring that down some there. It goes to 50. Oh, no, I think you might want to bring that a little bit more down now. What about 20? No, how about a little bit more? How about half of that? We might be able to get them niggas to do about maybe 5. Okay. And 5 it is. So the 5 Salats is Fajr, Dora, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. The names are changed. They changed the name of Salat al-Wasta, which is the middle prayer, to Salat al-Dura, all right, and added 2 Salats, which was Asr and Maghrib. So the question is, if the prescribed prayers was intended 5 times a day, why does the Quran only mention 3 names of Salat? Well, the reason why is because of that surah that we just spoke about. All right, so that's what we have, is that particular surah. All right, the surah is also somewhat mentioned, or I should say that story is somewhat mentioned of the night of Miraj, which means to ascend to heaven. All right, but Miraj also, is like the name of when you see a mirage, like if you're in the desert and you see, you think you're seeing water, that's a mirage. So this was actually an illusion, I'm getting tongue-tied, illusion in which that was taking place, all right? But this is what the Quran, states. Allah has sent down the very best hadith in the form of a book, consistent with itself, which makes all those who fear the Lord shudder. So their fear and bodies become receptive to the remembrance of Allah. Right? So the best hadith is the Quran, not hadith coming from Bukhari and others who, in which the stories in the hadiths and various hadith, you have Bukhari, and different other ones in which that this information came from. Now, even if you go to the Bible, remember the Quran came from the Bible. Muslims got their books from the Old and New Testament. All right, and it says Psalms 55:17, evening, morning, and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice. Now that's evening, morning, and at noon. That's 3, goddammit.
But they say there's no Trinity in Islam.
Right, but it is for this damn prayer. Now, if you go to Daniel 6:10, it says, now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being opened in the chambers towards Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before God as he had done aforetime. So he did that 3 times a day. Daniel did it 3 times a day too. Okay? You can go to Jesus. All right? Is biblically the observation of 3 times of daily prayer seems also to be sanctioned and approved by God in the New Testament. 9 a.m., which is the third hour. It could have been taken at any time, day or night, but God chose to send the Holy Spirit for the birth of the church on the day of Pentecostal, the time of the morning prayer at 9 a.m., all right, the third hour. And it says, for those are not drunken as yet supposed, seeing that it is but the third hour of the day. Then noon, the sixth hour, it says, God chose to give Peter a vision that will result in the acceptance of Gentiles into the church at the time of the noon prayer. And then on the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh into the city, Peter went up into the housetop to pray about the sixth hour. And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while there was ready, he fell into a trance. This is Acts 10:9. Then, of course, we have the ninth hour. God has chose the time of the evening prayer, the ninth hour, and he sent the angel to the centurion Cornelius. Right? There was a certain man in the Caesarian called Cornelius, a centurion, and the band called the Italian band, and a devoted man, the one who feared God and all his house, and would give much aim to the people and prayed to God always. He saw in the vision evidently about the ninth hour of the day, an angel of God coming into him and saying unto him, Cornelius. This is Acts 10:1-3. So the times, once again, is morning prayer is 9, noon prayer, and then 3 p.m. evening prayer. All right? This is biblical, so God also chose the time of the evening prayer, which was 3 p.m. To heal the lame man through Peter and John. This is in Acts 3:1-6. All right? So, this is what we, are showing here, And so Salat means fire and is the Arabic word for kundalini, not prayer. The Arabic word for prayer is dua. The movements and postures, asanas, associated with the Salat are actually abbreviated versions of the yoga sun salutation postures. All right? They coordinate breathing and stretching and clear the meridians and loosen the spine. All those things facilitate Salat, but are not Salat itself. Salat is a force, an energy that flows through the body and the universe. The Quranic term for the middle pillar is Salat al-Wasta. Guard over the Salat and Salat al-Wasta, the middle Salat, and raise up to Allah devotedly. This is Quran, 2nd Surah, 238 ayat. So the yoga sun salutation features postures, and several even qigong moves are similar to those of, the Muslim or Misram, Solar Salat postures. All 7 postures are found on the walls of in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, Kemet. All right, so even what they refer to as voodoo. All right, or gul, which means ablution or purification, cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It cools the body by applying water to the places which would likely be overheated when Salat force is risen. All right, so when the Kundalini is risen, a Muslim cools his head, his hands, his arms up to the elbows, his feet, his ears and neck, and his ankles, feet. All right, he washes his mouth out and cleanses his nostrils by sniffing water up through his nostrils before performing the Salat rising. The sniffing of water up the nostrils brings the Ida and the Pingala nadis into activation. Right? This is the purpose of Salat, which Muslims can't tell you. Is to raise Kundalini safely. Okay. Anything you want to drop on that, Brother L?
Oh yeah, brother. I noticed when you said that Allah, the wife of Allah, and when you kept on saying the mother of them all,
right?
They usually say the father of them all,
right?
But they don't. A lot of them, even in Islam, don't want to admit that it's mainly matriarchal instead of patriarchal.
Right.
And also, you brought the Trinity into play too.
Right.
Trinity. Salat does not mean prayer. Dua means prayer. Salat means fire.
Right. Raising fire. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you just brought that out. I'm glad you touched on that, because a lot of Muslims, they really, you might as well just say they're just like the Christians, people that that heard of Christianity. They're the same.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know about. You talked to that brother about the Quran, the esoteric science of Quran. He walked out.
Right.
Ran out of there.
Right. Right. Well, like we were saying, there's 7 positions that one does when they're making salat or raising fire. You have niyat, which means intentions. A misram or Muslim or Muslim stands and prepares the mind for salat, fire. The spine is straightened as the hips is tucked slightly forward and the knees are slightly bent, shoulders about width apart. Then you do takbir, which means the greatest before each movement. The Muslim raises his hands to his ears and say Allahu Akbar, which is the same as Hallelujah. The name Allah is derived from the ancient Sumerian word Ur-Ra, which is a form of Heru-Ur or Horus, the elder. The sound activates the heart chakra. The yogi raises his hands all the way back, establishing the correct position. It is called in yoga the tree pose. This is related to the fact that our soul was buried in a tree. Right? So this is where this originates from. You have Qiyam, which means standing. The Misram or Muslim erects, stands erect with his hands or her hands cupped, Muslima, together at the solar plexus for the Muslims, and the navel for the Muslima as they begin, their supplication or dua, prayer. The surah or chapters say normally Al-Fatiha. We know that. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Ameen. All right, so we know that they go through Al-Fatiha, which means Al-Fatiha means the opener, which is the same as Putah, which means the opening. Right, or Al-Fatiha means the opening and Putah means the opener. All right, if you actually go to one of the names of Allah, which is Al-Fatiha, right? Al-Fatiha, which it means the opener. All right, just correlates to that, and then it's no coincidence that Al-Fatiha, the opening, have Ptah-El, who created Adam's body, but could not give it life. Therefore, Ptah-El became the Gnostic demiurge Al-Dolabroth, occupying a position immediately below the unknown Father, which is Noon. All right? Al-Dolabroth is said to have generated the 7 Elohims, the 7 angels in his own image. All right? It was Io, Sabat, Adonai, Karios, Elio, Estrap, Phanios, Akhamath, and these, even in the Phoenician esoteric teachings, he was one of the 7 Elohims, creators in the visible universe. Origen referred to him as the creator of the 7 and spoke of Al-Dolabroth as being the second name of Michael. All right? In the book of Enoch, Al-Dolabroth is equated with Samael as the fallen angel and as one of the supreme hierarchies of the order of the thrones. But don't be alarmed. It's all allegorical. It symbolizes your 7 major chakras, niggas. You can call them the 7 African powers. Obatala, Emiya, Ogun, Oshun, Ishuelegba, Shango. Okay? You call them the 7 African powers. It don't matter which power you call them. It all symbolizes your 7 chakras. Just different names for the same 7 African powers, which is your African body. So all you African niggas out there. This attribute is remover of difficulty and giver of decisions. Anyone who places both hands on their bosom and recites, all right, recite it 70 times, inshallah, their heart will be illuminated with the light, El-Nur. So if you take your hands and place on your heart, on your both hands on your bosom and recite El-Nur, El-Nur, which means the light, 70 times, you will be illuminated by the light. The hands concentrate chi or ki or prana into those areas, activating the various chakras. Now, the yogi stands erect as he begins his sun salutation with both hands pointing up, palms down, or palms together in the Namaste pose Christians use as the prayer position. Their posture, this posture aligns the vertebrae along the spinal column. It also permits the relaxation response to begin. All right, so all of this correlates to the activation of the 7 chakras, as Al-Qadir was called the green one, symbolic to the heart chakra. All right, El-Nur. All right, you have El-Nur and El-Nur. All right, El-Nur is the light. El-Nur is the fire. Okay? Now, if you listen to what I said about Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbi Alamin, El-Rahman ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmuddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdina siratal mustaqim, siratal ladina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim, you will hear the in sound. All right, the in sound. That sound is the 16th and the 18th letter in Arabic and Hebrew, or the ayn symbol, which is one eye. So hence, when we speak about within the 101 and the 102s about the 7 eyes of Allah, the 7 eyes of Allah is actually talking about the 7 chakras. And the opening, Al-Fatiha, opens those 7 chakras through the recitation of Al-Fatiha. No coincidence. All right? There's 7 stanzas in Al-Fatiha. Opening, each one symbolizes opening of each chakra. So, when you look at Alhamdulillah, Rabbi Alamin, it means all praise is due to the source, the sustainer of the worlds, Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the yield of the most merciful, Maliki Yawmuddin, the king of the day of judgment or decision, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. It is you, Allah, that we serve, and it is you, Allah, alone that we request help, earnestly, for help. Dinas al-Siratal Mustaqim. Let our decision be of the straight and narrow path. All right, Siratal Dinas and Amta Alayhim, the straight and narrow path or the decision of those who have earned your grace. Gadirul Magdubi Alayhim, Walad Dolin. All right, now, that last one means excusing those who have provoked your anger, bringing an everlasting curse on themselves, and also excusing those who drift from the light on the right side to the darkness on the left side. All right? So, and most of the time they say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, we seek refuge from Satan the curse before they even go there. And of course, Muslims have to wash their hands before they even touch the Quran to do the recitation. Right? But even then, these are affirmations. All right, the same thing that you would do in prayer, or the same thing you would do as a decree, positive affirmation, is basically over and over again, as you continue doing it, it creates a change in your mentality. And this is really what you want, all right? A positive change in your mental, all right? As you're able to control the Kundalini energy, or at least be able to be in tune with it as it has been risen. This is why, for those who go into Seja, all right, which I'll get to in a minute, but let's go to Raku first, which means bowing. The Muslim or Muslim bends forward with his hands on his knees. Well, the yogi bends all the way forward, touching the floor with his toes and hands, and then pressing his head on his knees. The benefit of this posture is that it opens the spinal column, loosening it up, making it more elastic. It is said that a person's body isn't old as his spinal column is stiff. It also allows the Muslim to open the chakras along his spine, and this is accomplished, the same as the yogi. Right? We're just showing you the similarities here between these particular postures coming from the Indian postures of the sun salutation and further back off the walls of ancient Kemet, because all these particular postures is actually on the walls of ancient Kemet, as I'll talk about. Brother Saru Sultan Seti, he does a good job with showing that information. All right, I have that information also on my website, www.dralim.elbey.com. All right, now next you have Jalsa, which is sitting, and this enables the Mesram or Muslim to activate the nadis, which is the acupressure or acupuncture meridians on the right big toe. And there's two organs in the body which are affected by this point, the liver and the spleen. So while the yogi goes into this kind of backward bend, which is called downward facing dog, in this pose, the yogi is raised in the air while he's supported on his hands and feet. The stretching is accomplished, basically in the hamstrings as well as also the calf muscles. This stretching eliminates negative chi, all right, wasted from the meridians or nadis, so that fresh spiritual energy can be brought inside the body. At this point, she or he would turn their head first to the right and say, even in the prayer, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So he or she then would turn their heads to the left, of course, both sides repeating it. It's stated that you are greeting your two angels, or salaming your angels, who records your good and your bad deeds in the book of life. Now, really, that's within the human brain. Actually, resides the two speech centers called the Braca and the Warnick. All right, which is the the two areas in the brain, which is actually the cerebrums. Where you get the word cherubim from, the coverings. All right. Now, the ancient spiritual scientists were well aware of these two speech centers also. They was called the twins. All right. The ancient Egyptians called them the twins, Anpu and Ampuet. The Quran names them in Surah 2, Ayat 102 as the two angels, Hadrit and Maru. The function of the twins is to separate wholes into parts. The function is essential, otherwise no distinction would be possible. But the very act of separation is deceptive because it can mask the essential oneness of all things. All right, so next we have Saja, which means prostration, that allows the blood to flow to the brain, thus enriching the pineal and the pituitary glands, which operates along the Saharaja, Rara, and the Anja chakras, respectively. Now, the enriched blood flow to the brain makes it easy for the Muslim to experience clear vision. All right, Al-Bey. All right, now, it prepares the brain for Kundalini, Salat energy, which is risen to the two higher chakras. The additional blood center in the brain also helps to bring moisture to the brain so that it doesn't overheat when the Salat fire raises up to the brain centers. This helps prevent such things as Kundalini psychosis and fevers. All right. If you go to Genesis 17:3, it says Abram fell on his face, and God talked to him. Deuteronomy 5:9, thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. Psalms 95:6, O come, let us worship and bow down, let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. Deuteronomy 9:24 through 25, ye shall be rebellious against the Lord for the day that I knew you. Thou I fell down before the Lord 40 days and 40 nights, as I fell down the first before the Lord has said ye would destroy you. Joshua 7:6 through 7, and Joshua rended his clothes and fell to the earth upon his face before the ark of the Lord. All right, until eventide, he and the elders of Israel, and put dust upon their heads. All right, now this is actually part of Islamic ablution. All right, it's called tayammum, which is the practice of using clean earth to prepare for prayer when water is not available. Right, and that's spoken of actually within Surah 4, Ayat 43. All right, and it says, and ye find no water, then perform tayammum. All right. Then you have Numbers 16, 20 through 21. The Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, and they fell upon their faces. Numbers 20:6. Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they fell upon their faces. 2 Corinthians 20:18. And Jehoshaphat bowed his head with his face to the ground, and all Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell before the Lord, worshiping the Lord. Now, how come the Jews don't pray in this way, and the Muslims are the only ones out of the monotheistic belief systems that still pray in the same manner? Nehemiah 8:6. And Israel blessed the Lord, the great God, and all the people answering, Amen, Amen, with lifted up their hands, and they bowed their heads and worshipped the Lord with their faces to the ground. Matthew 26:36-39. And Jesus, and he went a little further, and he fell on his face, prayed, saying, O Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. Matthew 17:6. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces and were sore afraid. Revelation 7:11-12. And all the angels stood around the throne, and the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces. Holy Quran 19:58. And it says, there are some of the prophets whom God blessed. They are chosen from amongst the descendants of Adam, and the descendants of those who carried with Noah, and the descendants of Abraham and Israel, and from among those we guided and selected. All right, and it says, when the revelation of the most gracious are recited to them, they fall prostrating and weeping. Holy Quran 2:45. And be steadfast in prayer. Practice regular charity and bow down your heads with those who bow down. So for the Muslims, the act of prostration during prayer precedes Islam and was already part of the traditions in Judaism and Christianity, where you will find many biblical references of the prophets falling on their faces and praying. Now ask yourself once again, why Christians and Jews no longer pray in this manner? All right, so the last posture is Qadadha, which means to decide to dispute. The Muslim goes into the long sitting posture. In proper performance of Qadadha, the Muslim or Muslims sits down on the bottom and cross his legs and perform meditation, especially the meditation of dikr, all right, in which that he chooses the names of Allah, all right. Sometimes he just chooses 3 of the names of Allah and recite each one 33 times, 33 times, 33 times, which is 99 names of Allah. All right? The 100th name is Yahuwah or Yahweh. All right? Now, you know, normally they do Assalamu, 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 which means the peace. Or do El-Qudusu, 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 the holy. Or, you know, El-Rahman, 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 El-Rahman. You know, whichever one of the 99 attributes of Allah. You know, El-Rahmanu, El-Rahimu, El-Maliku, El-Qudusu, El-Salamu, El-Mukminu, El-Muhaiminu, El-Azizu, El-Jabaru, El-Mutakabiru. You go through all 99 of them. Okay? Now, and in Sufism, you can take each one and recite 10, 100, 1,000, or more times in order to manifest what you want into existence based off that particular name. Sufis will actually take, write the name of Allah that they want of the 99 attributes, take it, put it into a glass of water, and drink the water. Why? Because water has life in it. This is a known fact. If you study Masaru Emoto, Japanese scientist, who discovered that water has over 440,000 channels of memory. 440,000 channels of memory. Took a glass of water, wrote on it, I love you, or love. They froze it, took it out, looked at it under a microscope. 6-pointed star configurations, snowflakes, beautiful snowflakes. They took another glass, wrote on it, I hate you. Boom, took that, put that in, froze it. Took it out, looked at it under the microscope, looked discombobulated. Looked like a blob. No structure whatsoever, no 6-pointed star configurations, no nothing. So the Sufis is on to something. Pay attention. All right? Each esoteric branch of religion has a esoteric branch of that same religion. Christianity is the outward branch with the Protestant and the Catholics, but then you have the Gnostic and the Nicene branch, or the Essene branch, as it is also referred to. Then you have the Jewish branch, exoteric, the Hebrew Israelites, but then you have the Kabbalistic. Then you have the Islamic branch, Al-Islam. But then you have the Sufism branch, which deals with the mysticism of Al-Islam. You have the Buddhist branch, then you have the Zen branch. One of the few religions in which that there is no have to be an exoteric is not just an exoteric or esoteric branch, is Taoism. The way includes both exoteric and esoteric information. The way is the way. The way is Salat al-Mustaqim, the straight and narrow path is the way. The eye of the needle is easier for a rich man to enter the gates of hell than to enter through the eye of a needle. Salat al-Mustaqim, the straight and narrow path. The way. And what way is that? The Salat, the raising fire up through the hollow area of the spinal column, through the 31 nerves, plus 2, 33, through the 33 vertebrates. Hence, Jesus died at the age of 33. Okay? So, essentially,
Goes so deep.
Right, it goes so deep. You know what I'm saying? So, in Qadaha, the Muslim performed the necessary chanting and breathing to raise up the fire to Allah, of the serpentine fire. Dikrs, which is a remembrance, which means the remembrance of God. Pronouncement, invocation in Arabic. That's what it means. Essentially, the practice of dikr is a form of prayer in which that the Muslim will express his or her remembrance of God, either within or overtly, by calling on the name of God, Allah, or His 99 attributes. This may come in the form of recitation or simply allowing remembrance of God in one's heart. The head of a Muslim or Muslima turns right, and once again, can salam the angels, to the left and to the right. Well, to the, salam the angels, reading angels, which positive and negative, or rather electrical and magnetic, or rather it's the angles of light, electromagnetism, connecting the dendrites to the synapses, synthesizing both the left and right hemisphere of the brain. That's essentially what that means. All right, so these are the 7 positions in which that is, once again, taken from the sun salutation of yoga, as well as also from off the walls of ancient Kemet. When you go back further and see it, all right, you will see, you will actually, see if you go to Kemet, you will see the genuine Kemetic prayers, in which that the Arabs utilizes today. Comes from Africa. All right, Africans used to pray towards Gabel, Barkal, the holy mountain of Amen-Ra, in Napata, which is Kush or Sudan. Now they pray to the Asiatic god that talks through a burning bush. And they wonder why the house of Africa is burning down. So they need to be praying back to Amen-Ra, the craft of Amen-Ra. Because Amen-Ra actually is Ur-Ra, which is the word Allah, where it originates from. And the reason why the name Allah is written in one of the temples in Egypt, or Kemet, or Temeri now, which they have discovered. So, the falling on the face, they showed this, all right, on the walls. All right? Matter of fact, it's mentioned in chapter, the Perhem Heru Sut, which is the book of coming forth by day and night. All right, with the hands being up and on the knees, that is shown once again, in Islam, but is off the walls of ancient Kemet. The same way in which that we seen Brother Malcolm sitting there doing his prayers with his hands on his knees. Well, that is also shown once again in ancient Kemet. So we keep seeing this information over and over again. So it's time for us to understand what's really going on.
Right.
All right. So, and we have area code 214. Area code 214. You're on the line.
Hey, peace, Dr. Alim. Peace, Brother L.
Peace, peace.
Peace.
This Brother Wally down here in Texas Republic.
Peace,
I just had a question, and it go along with what you're speaking on. And I don't know if it's Matthew or Mark in the Bible, when Jesus is on the cross and he hollers out, Eloi, why have you forsaken me? Yeah.
Why has thou forsaken me?
And in both of the books is different. Like in one it's Eli, but in the other one it's like Eloi.
Elohi.
Eloi. Elohi, okay. Well, when I looked it up in the Strong's Concordance, and it looked like that's basically the word Allah, basically.
It is. It is the word Allah.
Okay, that's what I was
basically,
thinking.
it is.
That's what I, okay.
Christian, Muslims, and Jews worship the same God. Monotheistically, which is Allah. That's why you have the word hallelujah in Christianity, which is shown within the, which means all praise is due to Allah, which was transliterated into the Latin version of it, hallelujah. But it came from Allahu Akbar, which is the Arabic transliteration of that. All right, so they're all calling on the same deity, you know, which is Ra, which is a form of Ra, you know, Amin Ra. You know,
that's crazy how a Christian talk down on a Muslim and they prophet is hollering Allah.
Bro, they all say at the end of their prayers, Amen.
Yeah.
Everyone.
They all say it.
Amen.
You'll bring Christians during after church service, they come up to the altar for prayer. They all say Amen. Huh?
Yeah.
Muslims at the end of their prayers, in particular of Al-Fatiha or one of the other five, four other out of the five known prayers, regular or most popular prayers that they do, say Amen. Jews say, and Hebrew Israelites, African Hebrew Israelites, African Hebrews, and African Israelites, they'll say Amen. But then all of a sudden, oh no, this is not the same Amen. Well, goddamn it, phonetically it sounds the same to me, nigga. What the hell is going on? The first place you see the same name that you call at the end of your prayers is in ancient Egypt. But yet you ain't Egyptians, nigga, huh?
Yeah.
But you're calling on the Egyptian deity at the end of your prayers.
And all the stories in the Bible come from Egypt.
All the Bible,
it's crazy.
Right, and the Quran have the stories that just happen to come from the Perham Heru text, or the coming forth by day and night, or what is called the evolution of Ra, and the overthrowing of Apep. Just happens to, and the stories, like we said, Psalms just happen to come from. We have been verified that we have Psalms 104 and 110. That's verified that comes from the divine hymns of Akhenaten, Unkten. We went over last week where all the goddamn books in the Bible comes from. Nobody else is going to tell you that. First World Order did. We exposed it. Who wrote the damn books? What year they wrote the damn books in? And how many wrote them? And most of all, where they came from. So this is the nonsense which is being perpetrated against the masses. And our whole job is to expose this nonsense. So we definitely appreciate you, bro, for coming on, asking that question, because to me, you know what I'm saying, when they all say amen at the end of their prayers, they're already telling me who they acknowledge.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, could I ask one more quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Back in 1492, when they was expelling the Moors, and they was it always say they expelled the Moors and the Jews. Now we know that that's the same people, but like, what was the differences in our ideologies back then, like between a Moor and a Jew?
Really nothing. One was Kabbalistic, and the other one was alchemical or alchemist, which is really nothing at all. They was all Kabbalistic in that regard. Matter of fact, if you get the book Holy Kabbalah by A.E. Waite, W-A-I-T-E, Waite, on page around 20-something, in the footnote in the commentary, he tells you that the Moors left their books and writings in which that developed the Kabbalah. when they was in Spain.
Okay.
All right. So he tells you in that book around page 20 or so that the Moors are the ones who wrote the Kabbalah. So the Moors were like you said, the real Jews or Hebrews, Israelites.
That's right. Okay. Peace, brother. I appreciate that. Appreciate everything, man. I appreciate it. Brother L.
Welcome,
Brother.
Yeah, appreciate you, God.
Appreciate
Y'all
you.
take it easy.
Peace. All right, you too. All right, we got area code 410 on the line. Peace.
Peace, brothers. What's going on now?
Peace, Zach. How are you?
Little tough day. Just grandma transition last week. We just buried her today.
Okay.
Sorry to hear that, Mo.
Our salutations upon her. You know, may the ancestors wrap her in their healing wings. You know, our condolences to the family and to you, as well as also the fact is that, you know, she'll power now which that you can call upon and she can assist you.
Yes.
Even more now
Yes,
than she ever could in the flesh, because now there's no limitations.
Yep. Yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Right, so light for her a blue candle, and you know, read Psalms 23, and ask her to come and sit with you and, you know, build with you, comfort you, and you know, tell you some things in which that is taking place, because her vision is much further and much less limitless. I should say less limited than ours. You know, is, you know, and she can tell you a few things. I promise you that.
Yeah, because I was trying to explain to my mother and, you know, some of the other family that's open to hear it, and you know, I told them it's not all doom and gloom. You know, just, you know, if someone wanted to go the scientific route, we know energy can't be destroyed. Like even the scientists know it only be transferred. So the crazy part was, well, not crazy, but my one of my family members, they were trying to get, you know, trying to make heads or tails out of it, and you know, they seem like they still in limbo with Christian land, and I was like, you know, based on her consciousness. Well, one of the factors is her consciousness as she left here. You know, I guess she might have to wallow around in that consciousness as she going through her evolution, her spiritual evolution.
Right.
But as I went to the store, and my mother, she had her cell phone. I think she was washing up or something. Had a cell phone, and nowhere near the cell phone, and she was by herself. And the cell phone don't have the house number on it, so basically the only way you could dial a house phone is manually dialing it. And when she turned the water off when she was washing up, she heard the house phone ringing, and it was calling from her cell phone. So nobody was dialing from her cell phone when I'm saying.
Right.
And,
exactly. Oh yes, it was.
Right. And
my mama was. Yeah.
Right. And sure enough, you know, the number that came up was my mother's name. So basically she was calling herself. I was like, man, that grandma working fast.
Right. She got 3 days to work it quick, and a little bit more time after that. You know what I'm saying? 3 days specifically attached to the physical body, and then after those 3 days, she can't continue through the burial or barrio, as it is also referred to as, and that is the first and second overtone level of the fourth dimension. But in between that, she still have time in order to communicate to those here, to her family members.
Yeah, I thought it was 3 days. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But man,
yeah, several of my family members have done that for me. You know what I'm saying? Have kept me in contact over those 3 days and more. Helped me out of actual situations during those times periods. Like my great aunt, she came to me and told me that a child that I thought was mine wasn't mine, and that the female, was playing me. Well, guess what? That my great aunt told me that. Found out through a blood test that the child wasn't mine. Now, I ain't had no problem with taking care of the child, because actually I still take care of the child even to this day. He's a grown man. You know what I'm saying? But don't force me into something where I already have a natural inclination to do what's right anyway.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
I'm already a man who is willing to provide,
Right.
without having to be forced to do so. So, my aunt, got me out of that situation. Then my uncle came to me and told me to read the Psalms 13 and read Psalms 1. Psalms 1 is known for ridding negative energy. Psalms 13 is to promote health and to prevent early death. Well, next thing I know, within that 24 hours, I was choking on some herbs. You know what I'm saying? I took like a mouthful of herbs, and the powder got stuck in my nostril area, and I couldn't breathe. And then all of a sudden, everything with my uncle, that we, talk telepathically, I realized the only thing you got to do is open your mouth and breathe, nigga. And guess what? I just opened my mouth and breathed. And I was able to go drink some water and get the herbs down. And, boom, I was straight. So the ancestors come and help you, what I'm saying, during that time, because they can see what's going on much further than you can. And so their vision, if they love you, they change your shitty-ass diapers. They told you about the birds and the bees. You know what I'm saying? These are people that loved you. You know what I'm saying? Most people now are scared to even say their damn name after they die. To even look at their damn picture. And this is the silliness of these people.
Right.
But yet, they don't mind rolling around with the white man dollar bill, though.
No,
right.
It's $10, $20,
all them
$100, and looking at all them goddamn dead-ass presidents.
They offer dead old presidents to represent.
Don't mind saying it's all about the Benjamins, but nigga, when it comes time to be all about the melanin, they forget about that shit.
I mean, on almost kind of threw up in my mouth when I was hearing what the pastor was saying today, but it was a good day. But to be fair about it, he wasn't that far off. Metaphysically, he wasn't that far off. In fact, I think they said Psalms 13. I forgot which one it was, but I think that was my grandmother. She wanted that Psalms 13, or I got to hear the tape again, but yeah, you just, I ain't there to cause no ruckus and nothing. Just let everybody.
Right. I got you. Yeah, I went to a funeral. My wife and I went to a funeral like about 4 years ago. All right, it was a brother who we knew very well, who was, with us part of ICRAM and everything. He was a national of United Washington, everything. He died of a massive heart attack. Well, his brother is up in there dissing him, because he's talking about his brother. Yeah, he's talking about he was God. Well, nigga, you God in a casket now, And I'm like, dude, hold up. And now me, Bambata, that's Aqua Bambata, my wife, all of us up in there looking at each other like, yo, this dude getting ready to get smacked.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, this is, he better be glad, because YouTube would have been happy to put this on. Me and my wife and Bambata and brother Tarif would have been up in this whooping his brother ass in front of him in his casket.
Right.
You know, so we got up and just left out, man. We couldn't even take it no more. We like, yo, we gotta go. We gotta blow some steam off, cause this dude getting ready to get his ass beat in front of his family. You know, and so this is the nonsense. Yeah, and be like, hold up, bro. He's talking about the divine soul. That's God, not the flesh. He ain't never told you that the flesh was God. You know, that's the murky ethers. You know what I'm saying? That's the double, you know what I'm saying, or devil, you know what I'm saying, of, you know, of the higher self, you know, which is the God portion of self, which is the divine soul. Come on, you know, that's what he meant, you know, but see, he took it like, you know, like somebody who would be looking at a 5%er when they call themselves God body or Allah. We know what they're talking about. They're talking about the divine light in which that guides the arm, leg, arm, head, or supreme head. You know? So, I mean, he couldn't see it because he was coming from a Christian theology. And so he up in there dissing his brother, you know, who's passed on of a massive heart attack. And, yo, you know.
I had to get some air, huh?
So hard. My wife was crying so hard I had to take her outside. We had to calm down, and you know, because the dude, he was getting ready to, he was really feeling himself, and I know he paid dearly for that. I'm pretty sure his brother had to come in a dream or something and spank that ass or something. You know. Yep. But I appreciate you, bro, for coming on, asking questions, and you know, making comments. Anyone else who want to give a call in before we get off of here is 626-414-3535. That's 626-414-3535. Give us a call. All right. Hold on, we got another call here. We got 708. You're on the air.
How you doing, brother? Alim, watch the east.
Watch the east.
My question is, you know, I know you talked about it very briefly, but you never added any connection to it. Like far as under your, I think it's under your throat, under your chin. You were saying that you had that bump.
Yeah, the berry gland.
You said that would be like your 9th chakra.
Well, 8th chakra. Yeah, the 9th chakra would be the one at the roof of the mouth, in which. All right, so the barytheric gland is the gland on which that Dr. Malachi York speaks about, on which that was once within the hippocampus area of the brain, which is your psychic centers. Allegedly, that was taken out, but now through DNA is being reinserted back into the human anatomy, right under the submental area, which is about an inch or so right behind the chin area, which feels like a bowl or two bowls right there next to each other. When it first is then developed, it's like your neck is like a bullfrog somewhat. It's kind of swollen as it's being developed. All right, and that's normally is during the time of puberty. All right, is normally when it comes in. Now, all right, that's how it's being reinserted. Now, Dr. Deborah Blair speaks about the epiphany gland, which is also called the talud gland, which is a mound with a hole that goes up into the third cavern or the third ventricle, which is called the cave of Brahma, in which that is also called the cave of Jesus, because it says Jesus was born in a manger, but it was in a cave because he couldn't find an end. That's the same place as Brahma, which is Abram, all right, or Abraham, all right. But then, so the Hindu script, you had Brahma, whose wife was Saraswati. You had Abraham, whose wife was Sarah. All right. So this is the same deities utilized in both cultures, Hebrew as well as also in the Indian Hindu Kush teachings. All right. So we're seeing that these two glands, along with the other 7 chakras, symbolize the 8th and the 9th chakra. So hence giving you 9 chakras, in which that Dr. York, Malachi York spoke about, that we have 9 chakras, but then we're going also to a 12 chakra level. So there's actually 3 more chakras in which that, or 3 more glands in which that will soon develop, also within us. All right.
Okay, so you know how to activate those yet, or?
Yeah. You do it through meditation and visualization techniques. The visualizations and the breathing exercises are taught within the AEO, the Ancient Egyptian Order, up under Dr. Malachi York, as well as also they can be activated by way of learning the teachings from the Jewel and the Lotus, the practices in there by Grandmaster Sunyata Saraswati.
Is it any books on that, or you got to be initiated?
Yeah, that's the book. Jewel and the Lotus. Jewel in the Lotus. JEWELIN Lotus. LOTUS. Jewel in the Lotus. Put that into your engine search into Google and pull up Grandmaster Sunyata Saraswati. That's SUNYATA. Saraswati. Or Sunyata Saraswati. SARASWATE. Or TI, excuse me. Saraswati. Okay?
All
right, peace.
Peace.
All right, Brother L, we about to get on up off of here. Any closing comments?
Well, I said we did another good one.
All right, appreciate that. Right. Well, we got our conference coming up, which I'm glad you're going to make it this year, Brother L. Can't wait to see you. It's coming quick here, as you see.
The conference?
The conference, United Washington Conference, and Healing Wings Health and Wellness Expo, 3 days event. Okay. That's March 18th, 19th, and 20th, as well as also we would love for you all to come, so check us out. For those that want more information, you can go to the website, www.dralimel-bey.com, to a calendar of events, as well as if you need more information, you can give us a call at 910-364-9099. That's 910-364-9099. This is March 18th, 19th, and 20th. Come on out for those 3 days. It's going to be an excellent. If you're thinking that we dropping some information here, you haven't heard shit yet. Okay? We go into far more, even deeper information when we in private. This is just some public shit that I'm doing. All right, so if you love the public shit, you better not wait to find out what's going on behind the scenes in private. All right, so that's what's going on. Also, we have a new book out. My wife and I, we wrote it. It's called The Divine Hymns of Akhenaten, The Occult Powers of Psalms, The Art of Candle Burning, and The Healing Aromas of Incense. All right, you got to get this book. All right. For those that got The Origin of Occult Civilization by Brother Panic, this shit here is going to go right along with it and help take you to the next level as we teach you in this book also how to set up altars, the incense to use, the psalms to read, the candles, color candles to burn, everything, as well as also showing you how Psalms is derived from the divine hymns of Akhenaten. All right, so we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, coming on, checking us out, spread the word, of, of the information, get more people on here, because everybody need this info, we ain't doing this just for health reasons, you know what I'm saying? We want y'all to get this info out and get more people up on here. All right, so, all right. All right, okay, there was some audio technical difficulties here. It said audio is horrible. Brother L, was you able to hear me?
I was able to hear you loud and clear all through the show. Okay,
so that means that when it's being recorded, then more than likely it's going to be pretty clear. So for those that said that it was only one person, but still it said the audio was horrible, we want to make sure that y'all get this information. So go back and listen to part 1. This is part 2, and we will be doing part 3 and the final part next week, the metaphysical and the religious confusion. As you've seen, we went through Christianity first. We went through Islam this time. We're going through all the monotheistic belief systems and tying it in and showing you their origins and where it comes from. So just keep bearing with us and stay on, and we're going to get you there. You know what I mean? All right, so we love y'all. Yo, we out. Peace.
I don't need to be a dope boy, my poetry is dope enough. Trapping interstellar while my third eye open up. See through all the lies that y'all telling with a straight face. Return of the luminous ones. Y'all better make way to find a chapter. Find a collapse on all you politicians. They politicking how to lead a world, no pot to piss in. The way I think is more deep and in the Grand Canyon. I guarantee this black man would be the man standing. My premonition matched the OMAC calendar. It's always accurate like a lightweight challenger. For all you wicked riches and the Wizard of Oz, you and that man behind the curtain, yeah, y'all fixing to fall. Only a matter of time before shit hit the fan. Here's an idiot's guide for you on how to get a man. I don't need a bunch of homies to ride or die with me. I can call on Hey Roo to fly the skies with me. Going through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back my angel time to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned to the birth. We going through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back my angel time to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned to his birth. When I'm riding on the city streets, never really miss a beat. To the point of no return, lest I turn another cheek. Catch me on my daily vibe, smooth as I wanna be. Just being me, never chilling with the wannabes. God in the flesh, dated bad since Atlantis. Because my history is more than they can understand it. My melanated skin, star brush from the astro. I'm made of dark energy created from black holes. No thyself, the only one you can lean on. I got some scoopers that y'all can break y'all weed on. Our hair's Martin Luther King and slave ships. But what about the underwater cities and spaceships? My mystical mind, we had the government covering. But if the OMAD will fly away like a mothership, we're African people, we're the real Anunnaki, wearing feathers on their heads just a few feet taller than me. Through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back my angel time to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returns to the birth. We going through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back my angel time to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returns to his birth. Yo, don't look at me the same, I ain't nothing like I used to be. Upgraded daily through the lies and all the foolery. My dream became lucid, I travel back in time, collecting life data for my subconscious mind. That Father let me know that anything is possible by pulling down the universe through my crown chakra. Manipulate the energy is all an illusion. Knowing who you are kills all the confusion. Why 85% judge off my appearance? I use alchemy to create the word potential. My lyrics turn divas right back at the queens. Why dope boys the think twice appearing back on the scene. Everybody gone mad, blaming media outlet. The new black Hollywood chosen straight out of the projects. Homo agenda war sucking up to the master. While the whole community going up in disaster. We going through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back my angel time to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returns to the birth. We going through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back my angel time to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returns to his birth.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Today, Bridget Griffin shared a video of her daily yoga routine, 2 self-help articles, and her new blog called Build Your Inner Bridge with Bridge. Girl, your sharing has turned into oversharing. No worries, Bridge. Geico has some info worth sharing with your 7 blog followers, like how you could save money on your car insurance, update your policy, and report a claim just by visiting geico.com. How's that for building your inner bridge? Bridge? Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.